Howdy, I'm Brian Haycock with Platinum Adventure Vacations. On this week's episode, we're going to talk about Alaskan cruises. There's approximately 5 different styles of cruises that you can do in Alaska. We're going to talk about each of them and the benefits and what they offer and the ship sizes and things like that today. Cruising season for Alaska typically starts late April and runs through September. Um, is the best time, or I believe the only time really, to do cruises. The cruise types are round trip, inside passage cruises, northbound Gulf of Alaska Glacier cruises, and southbound. Small ship expedition style venture cruises, and then all inclusive luxury cruises. Like I said, we'll talk about each of them and what they are and the differences. And we'll start with the round trip inside passage cruise. Generally speaking, the round trip cruise sails out of Seattle and Vancouver, and generally they will start and then in the same port. And I shouldn't even say generally. They start out in the same and then in the same port. Hence the name round trip. Most of the time, it's going to be a 7-night cruise. However, there are longer cruises, and they're popular with people who have a budgetary or time constraint. So that's typically who would be on those cruises. It's also convenient for flights because you are typically flying out of the same airport, so your cost of airfare can be a little bit cheaper. More affordable. Like I said, there are longer cruises that are round trip, 10 or 11 night cruises that are available from California. So, like I said, typically Seattle, Vancouver. However, the longer cruises can be from other ports. You'll usually spend the first day cruising the inside passage, which is basically a narrow waterway between mountains and waterfront communities and the Pacific Ocean. And then depending on your itinerary, you will visit 3 or 4 ports in Alaska or in national parks. Most of the time, the ports that are available for those cruises is Juneau, Ketchikan, Skagway, Haines, Sitka, Glacier Bay National Park, Hubbard Glacier, Misty Forge, Icy Strait Point, and then Tracy Arm Forge. You'll usually spend a full day in each port, allowing you to visit the community or any excursions like trekking on the glaciers, helicopter rides, city bus tours, fishing, and there's many more other things that you can do. Basically, there's some for everybody. So like the cruises are more popular with families and children. It's a good way to do a family trip. Most of the cruise lines do have stuff for children. They have programs and shore excursions that are geared towards younger passengers. Not all of them, but they have them. And like I said, the cruise season for Alaska is mid-April to September, which is kind of good because you can see during that time of year, you got wildflowers, you got, the foliage is all there, the leaves and stuff like that. Um, but you can still see uh, glaciers and things like that. That's also when whale migrations are happening, bald eagles, the trumpeter swans. So the opportunity to see wildlife is pretty decent for those cruises, and really any cruise to Alaska. The next cruise type we'll talk about is Northbound Gulf of Alaska Glacier Cruise. Again, these cruises also sail out of Seattle and Vancouver typically. Um, they'll either end in Seward, Whittier, or Anchorage, Alaska. And like I said, they're northbound. They're one way. They don't come back to the same port. So you're going to go from one port to another port, which also means your flights will be different airports coming and going. Just something to keep in mind when you're taking that type of cruise, or your agent should keep in mind when they're helping you out. Generally speaking, you're going to see more glaciers, more mountains, and more wildlife, and more scenery on those cruises. Um, so that's one of the advantages if you're looking to see more of that stuff, then a northbound cruise would probably be your best choice, or a southbound, because the southbound, which I'll talk about in a minute, although actually we'll talk about both because really it's the same cruise, just one goes north and one goes south. um, those are the cruises that you would typically pick if you're looking to see more wildlife, um, and stuff. Um, you are less time at sea on a northbound or southbound cruise, which again gives you more time in port as well as the national glacier parks. So that's a nice thing. Generally speaking, they're 1 week cruise, so 7 days, 7 nights rather. And like I said before, that is the best choice to see glaciers, and spend more time on land if you're looking to spend more time on land and doing excursions. Um, when you get to Anchorage or your end spot, either be Anchorage, Whittier, or Seaward, um, you can stay overnight or extend your um, time on your vacation, like adding a land tour or something like that. So you can do additional stuff because you are staying in those areas. But you would probably want to stay overnight on your last when you do arrive in Alaska, or in Alaska, when you arrive in Anchorage, only because that way you're not trying to get off the ship and catch a flight. So you would probably typically stay overnight and then catch your flight the next day back home. Which I would definitely recommend that, just because of the time by the time you get there, and trying to get to an airport and whatnot. Like I said, they're one-way cruises, so that's can be a good thing. Like I said, with spending more time in port and stuff. Um, um, and it's basically the same ports are available to visit with a one-way cruise. So Juneau, Ketchikan, Skagway, Haines, Sitka, Vancouver, Glacier Bay National Park is one that's added on here. Hubbard Glacier, College, Fjord, Valdez, and then Seaward, Whittier, and Anchorage, which are your end ports typically. So that, yeah. When you do arrive in Seaward or Whittier, you end up taking a motor coach up to Anchorage, because that's where you're going to fly home from. Um, or to continue your land portion if you did book a land portion as part of your cruise. And that's the gist of Northbound. Um, so then Southbound is pretty much the same as the Northbound. Um, only difference being really is that you're instead of flying, instead of starting out in a Vancouver or Seattle, you're starting at the other end, Anchorage or Whittier or Seward. So you're just starting in a different on the other end, but it's basically the same thing as the Northbound. There's not really anything different other than where you start and end. So it's the same thing. And then let's see. The next one that we'll talk about is small ship excursion style adventure cruises. So they're going to be totally unlike the large cruise ships. So it's not, you're not going to be in a large cruise ship going down a passage. You're going to be in a lot smaller ship, which is good because it lets you experience Alaska in an up close and personal way. You're going to get closer to stuff than you do in the large ships, just because the smaller ship can be maneuvered in closer to the land and things like that, because it's not, obviously it's not taking as much water for it to float, so to speak. You do explore more off-beaten track waterways. The channels that they can go in are going to be narrower. They can go to the tiny ports that the large ships can't access, which that's nice. Typically on an exhibition style cruise, it's going to be 100 people or less on that cruise ship. So instead of being 1,500 people or whatever, you're going to be down to 100 people. So that's a huge advantage, because now you're getting it's more tour guides to person ratio is going to be smaller, so that's nice. You're not going to find a whole lot of amenities on the ship. So like with larger cruise ships, they have, they may have pool. Well, I don't know if you're going to go on a pool necessarily in Alaska. It depends on where you're from. Like where I'm from in Florida, I probably, although it's probably nice weather during the summer up there, I don't know. But you're not going to have pools. You're not going to have the casinos that are on a larger ship. You're not going to have all the different restaurants that are on a larger ship. You're not going to have different clubs and all this stuff that's typically on a larger ship. So you're not going to have those amenities. However, you will get very, very, very close to glaciers. You are going to be as close as you can possibly be in a small ship. So that's a huge advantage. The other thing is, on a smaller ship, the captain will follow the wildlife to allow you to see whales and such. So if they see a pod of whales, he's going to probably try to follow them, so you have an opportunity to see them, which is something that a big ship is not going to do. The big ships are going to keep their schedule. They're going to go from point A to point B, point C, and so forth, so on, and they got a set schedule. They're not going to veer off that path. They're not going to veer off that schedule. With the expedition style cruises, the schedule is very flexible, so the captain will veer off the schedule a little bit to allow you to see wildlife and get close to the glaciers and things like that. The other nice thing is that all the ships have expedition experts on board, meaning these are people who, that's what they do. They do expedition either via land or on sea. They know what to look for. They know what to point out to you. They can answer questions about those things. So again, these are advantages of being on that small ship, where you can you have somebody can tell you about the things you're looking at. Um, so, and again, it's the perfect way to go if you're looking. If you're looking, some people when they think of Alaska cruise, that's what you think of. You think about whale watching. You think about going up close to glaciers. You think about the wildlife and stuff like that. So this might be the type of cruise that's for you if that's what you're thinking of. Now, I'm not saying that a large cruise ship, you can't do that by doing excursions, but with a small ship, you're that's part of your going on a small ship. So it's just something to think about. And so then the last style of cruising is your all-inclusive luxury cruise. Again, these ships are going to be small, intimate ships. They're going to cater to personalized service. Again, they do off-beaten path destinations. The food is great. All the rooms are well appointed, balcony suites, all-inclusive lifestyle, including shore excursions, airfare, and more. So this includes a lot of stuff. It is truly a luxury cruise. Of course, what goes along with luxury is the price. So obviously, these cruises are going to be a little bit more expensive. Now, there are deals out there where it is affordable. If you're a couple that's looking to go on something like that, it's definitely doable. It's doable for a family. It just depends on what your budget is and what you're looking for. But luxury cruises can be characterized by a refined onboard atmosphere, wide variety of exotic destinations, spacious accommodations, highest level of personalized service. Like I said, it is truly luxury at its best. And then I'm going to mention one more cruise type, and it's not really necessarily a cruise type. It's just Alaskan cruise tours, which is a cruise along with land. And typically, like I said before, your southbound and your northbound Gulf Alaskan Glacier cruises, those would be the ones that would have that. And so there you have it. That's the different cruise types that are available to Alaska. If you like what I talked about today, definitely subscribe and like my video. Subscribe to my channel. If you're interested in one of these type of cruises, you can contact me either by email, phone, or you can visit my website. So my website is I might add a W in there, www.platinumadventurevacations with a S.com. My email address to get further information is info@platinumadventurevacations.com. And then you can always call me at area code 239-910-3101. And all that will be at the bottom of the video as you're watching this. And again, like I say, you have any questions or you're interested in any of these type of cruises or whatnot, definitely reach out to me. I'll see what kind of deal I can get together for you. And with that note, everybody have a great week. I'll see you next week.